Meine Damen und Herren, Mesdames and Mrs., Ladies and Gentlemen, guten Tag, bonsoir, have a good day. Wie geht's? Comment ça va? Do you feel good? Ich bin euer Konferencier, je suis votre compère, I am your host. Und sagen willkommen, bienvenue, welcome. Fremde, étranger, stranger. Glücklich zu sehen, je suis enchanté. Happy to see you, bleibe reste stay beside. Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome. Im Cabaret, au Cabaret, tout Cabaret.
Good morning. Welcome to the band book service. I am Cory Ness, your Director of Lifespan Faith Development, and I share leadership of today's service with Brianna and Jason Hayes and Ann and J.D. Stillwater. We welcome you, whoever you are, wherever you live, whomever you love, whatever you do for a living. We welcome you to come with your dreams and disappointments, your beliefs and your doubts. Bring your whole beautiful self. Come into this circle of love. Come and celebrate in the transformative power of community at the Unitarian Church of Harrisburg. I hope you'll join us for coffee hour after worship. Those joining online this morning can participate in a Zoom coffee hour.
Call to action. However, all of the other music was selected because it stirred up controversy at some point in time. The book Alice in Wonderland was banned in China in the 1930s because animals were given humanistic characteristics, a reminder that books can be banned for the silliest of reasons. So it only seems appropriate for our choir to sing a song from Alice in Wonderland. If you happen to know the words, feel free to sing along.
How do you do?
Today's chalice lighting words come from Nancy Reed McKee. Our community knows no boundaries. Our community knows no boundaries. We are not confined by the physical limits of walls, or for that matter, of what often binds us, restricts us, holds us back. We are freer, again, we are freer than we know when we release ourselves and each other from expectations of what is needed for true community. We are here together in this space. We see you, we hear you, know that you are loved. And we light this chalice, a beacon of this community, holding us all together, here, now.
Stand if you are able. Oh, sorry.
Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is our gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Now you may stand in body or spirit. Touches one, affects us all. The seas that wash us round about, the clouds that cover us, the rains that fall. Our world is one word. The thoughts we think affect us all.
Hi. I'm going to read you a poem, how not to have to dry the dishes. Okay. If you have to dry the dishes, such a boring and awful chore. I agree with that statement very much. If you have to dry the dishes instead of going to the store, if you dry the dishes and drop one on the floor, maybe they won't let you dry dishes anymore. Okay, goodbye.
So in 1985, Silverstein's poetry collection, A Light in the Attic, was challenged in Wisconsin because the poem encourages children to break dishes so they don't have to dry them.
Good morning.
Good morning.
A Time for All Ages, The Librarian of Basra, a true story from Iraq written and illustrated by Jeanette Winter. Now, the reason for banning, this book was banned. Aliyah Mohammed Baker saved part of the Basra Library's collection before the building was burned as British forces entered the city during the 2003 Iraq War. Coalitions of parents in Florida and New York claimed the book promotes a non-Christian religion, promotes Islam, and is too violent for kids.
Aliyah Muhammad Baker is the librarian of Basra, a port city in the sand-swept country of Iraq.
Her library is a meeting place for all who love books. They discuss matters of the world and matters of the spirit.
Until now. Now they only talk of war. Will planes with bombs fill the sky? Will bombs fall here? Will soldiers with guns fill our streets? Who among us will die? Will our families survive? What can we do?
Aliyah worries that the fires of war will destroy the books, which are more precious to her than mountains of gold. The books are in every language, new books, ancient books, even a biography of Muhammad, peace be unto him, that is 700 years old. She asks the governor for permission to move them to a safe place. He refuses.
So Aliyah takes matters into her own hands. Secretly, she brings books home every night, filling her car late after work.
The whispers of war grow louder. Government offices are moved into the library. Soldiers with guns wait on the roof. Aliyah waits and fears the worst.
Then rumors become reality.
War reaches Basra. The city is lit with a firestorm of bombs and gunfire.
Aliyah watches as library workers, government workers, and soldiers abandon the library. Only Aliyah is left to protect the books. She calls over the library wall to her friend Anis Muhammad, who owns a restaurant on the other side. Can you help me save the books?
I can use these curtains to wrap them. Here are crates from my shop. Can you use these sacks? The books must be saved.
All through the night, Aliyah, Anis, his brothers, and shopkeepers and neighbors take the books from the library shelves and pass them over the 7-foot wall and hide them in Anis's restaurant.
The books stay hidden as the war rages on. Then, 9 days later, a fire burns the library to the ground.
The next day, soldiers come to Anis's restaurant. Why do you have a gun? They ask. To protect my business, Anis replies. The soldiers leave without searching inside. They do not know that the whole of the library is in my restaurant, thinks Anis.
At last, the beast of war moves on. Aliyah knows that if the books are to be safe, they must be moved again while the city is quiet. So she hires a truck to bring all 30,000 books to her house and to the houses of friends.
In Aliyah's house, books are everywhere, filling floors and cupboards and windows, leaving barely enough room for anything else.
And now all children who are in grades 1 through 5 are invited to come downstairs.
Ups and downs this morning. Let's see, is this, where am I? Oh, I need to use the other mic. We on? Yeah. Okay. Oh, the walls. I don't need this mic. Oh. Did any others of you watch The Waltons when it was on TV back years ago? Yeah, I watched it a lot as a kid, pretty regularly. But there's only one episode from all of the seasons it ran that has really stuck with me. I think of it fairly often, and I definitely thought of it when we were talking about this service. It's not exactly about banned books, but burning books. Does anyone know the episode I'm talking about? It's stuck in your mind too, yeah. You should know that the setting of the clip you're about to see is a very small farming community in 1930s Virginia. John Boy, the eldest Walton child, now an adult in this episode, has caused quite a stir in his local town by publishing excerpts from Hitler's Mein Kampf in his small newspaper. The first man who speaks in the video is the minister of the only church in this small town.
At the time, I thought these books were the best books that I have ever read. And from a literary point of view, they were, and it remains true today. Why did these books resonate with me? Well, simply put, I could see myself reflected in Steinbeck's books. A fact that I don't share with many folks, as the idea of being vulnerable with you today is quite difficult. It's something that I don't talk about much, as it is associated with the deep shame I experienced growing up in poverty. Yes, we did have a roof over our head, and yes, the roof leaked. When it rained, there were buckets and bowls and towels everywhere on the floors. I remember wringing out the towels and emptying the containers. I remember standing in shock the day a hurricane came through and the roof lifted right off our house. I remember looking up at the sky with the rain and the winds pelting at us and standing in disbelief that a roof could just disappear and lay slowly and gently just a few yards away from our house into the yard. I remember when Hurricane Agnes came through and our little creek rose into a great, noisy river with telephone poles and cars rushing by as the water level rose to the back door of our house. Yes, we lived in a flood zone. I remember occasionally going without food as we couldn't afford milk or bread. I remember walking across and balancing on the little footbridge that crossed the creek to my grandfather's small, old log cabin with floors that were weak and sagging. I helped my grandfather carry water buckets from the spring to their home, as they didn't have running water, and their knob and tube wiring was not exactly safe and reliable. We milked the goats, tilled the ground with his crank-up tractor. You remember the ones with the crank-up in the front. And you have to remember, this was in the 60s and 70s for me. We planted, we harvested, we canned vegetables. I repaired window panes, which was actually one of my favorite jobs as a child. We ironed and folded aluminum foil. As much was not thrown away, since so many items might be useful for another time. I was afraid of my grandmother, because it was never explained to us that she had severe epilepsy, and to my knowledge, an undiagnosed mental disability. In Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, we know Lenny, too, has a mental disability. And through the novel, John Steinbeck puts out information that something is wrong with Lenny, but he never states what it is, just like it was in our family. There were secrets. They never explained what was going on with my grandmother, but we knew something wasn't quite right. Today, we may consider Lenny to be an autistic person. Lenny's guardian, George Milton, showed me how to be more compassionate to my grandmother, as I really didn't know how to be with her, especially when she was experiencing one of the spells. John Steinbeck's novels reflected my childhood. It was affirming to know that I was not alone in facing poverty, loneliness, cruelty, ridicule, powerless, survival, and occasionally unity. Looking back now, I recognize the profound effect Steinbeck's books had on me. Although subtle, the most intriguing link between these two novels is Steinbeck's fascination with the human soul. He delves deep into the human heart and pulls forth very strong emotions, such as love, compassion, and empathy. An emotional connection that I was longing for at that time in my life, as well as the search for a better life. Both Steinbeck's books were published more than 80 years ago and have been banned in parts of the United States for many years, and again just this year. Challenges to these books include complaints about profanity, morbid and depressing themes. It's derogatory towards African Americans, women, and the developmentally disabled, and violence.
On your seat was a list of banned books that have been banned. And to that list, I would add Hunger Games, The Giver by Lois Lowry, Diary of Anne Frank, Clockwork Orange, Ender's Game, Charlotte's Web. Please stand up or raise your hand if your life has been influenced in some way by any of those books on the sheet or that I listed. Yeah, almost everyone. Are there a few of you who'd like to share briefly about one of those books and what it meant to you personally? Ann will bring the mic to you. Just raise your hand. Anyone?
Harry Potter got me into reading. I hated reading before those books.
Yeah.
I'm actually wearing a bracelet that says, "Not all those who wander are lost."
Yeah.
Love those books. Yes.
Jesse?
Slaughterhouse-Five got me into Kurt Vonnegut, which is a deep dive into everything in that time period for me.
Back over here, Ann?
Harry Potter got me into thinking of fun imagination.
Any others? Well, all of those books on the sheet and the ones that I mentioned, and I'm afraid many, many more, have been banned at one time or another. Now, if the impact those books had on you, and so that's why you raised your hand earlier, if the impact on you was harmful and you wish you'd never read that book, raise your hand. One? Okay. All right. So if the book banning people had gotten their way, all of those people who raised their hands earlier, their lives would have been less rich, less meaningful. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you, JD. How many of you are aware that Pennsylvania is second on a recently published list of states with the highest number of banned books? Oh, some of you, very good. Across our state, there are a staggering 456 bands across 9 districts. Plus, the school district with the most bands across this nation can be found just south of here in Central York School Districts in York County. I live in the Central York School District, so I know quite a bit about it, and we have been fighting. Nationally, Texas leads the list with 713 bands across 16 districts. Coming in behind Pennsylvania is Florida with 204 bands from 7 districts. And Oklahoma and Kansas round out the list of the top 5 with 43 and 30 bands, respectively. PEN America's April newsletter reports there are at least 37 states, 182 school districts, and millions of students and their families who are impacted by the 2022-2023 school year library book bans. There are more books being banned statewide than at the previous time in our nation's history, with Florida, Texas, and Pennsylvania being the 3 states reporting the most drastic record of banned books. The ALA, or the American Library Association, shares with us there are 5 principles that we should remember when thinking about addressing the issue of banning books. Books are tools for understanding complex issues. Young people deserve to see themselves reflected in a library's books. Parents should not be making decisions for other parents' children. Individuals should be trusted to make their own decisions about what to read. Limiting young people's access to books does not protect them from life's complex and challenging issues. With all of this in mind, and in the local front, as in right here in this building, we are establishing a banned book section in our very own UCH library, which, yes. And in case you don't know where it is, it's just downstairs. I would like to extend an invitation to each of you by encouraging you to donate your favorite banned book to our library. In our library, you will also find a selection of banned book swag, stickers, and wristbands. Please feel free to help yourself to those items.
Let us open our hearts and minds now to a time of meditation and prayer, a time to give expression to our joys and sorrows. Life brings joys and sorrows, worries and triumphs. In community, we often find that sorrows shared are eased, and joys shared are multiplied. What burdens of worry or sorrow weigh heavily on you this morning? What joys or gratitudes lift your heart? We invite you to share them now through writing them on a slip or typing them in the Zoom chat. Please indicate whether your message is okay to share out loud. You can also honor your joys and sorrows by placing a stone into the water of community. Please come up the middle aisle and return on the sides. Spoken or unspoken, our hearts join with yours in bearing and celebrating all that life brings. We place one more stone in the water of community, representing the joys and sorrows that remain silent in our hearts and minds. Tomorrow we'll go to Washington. Oh, this is from Nan and Jim Kavanaugh. Tomorrow we'll go to Washington, D.C. to spend over a week with our grandchildren, Clara, 5, and Eleanor, 8, while our son, Papa Rob, and Mama Mandy go to Hawaii to celebrate their 20th anniversary. It won't be dull. And Monique Baer asks for prayer regarding difficult marriage and relocation. And another sorrow from Larry Byer and Cordell Affelt. Remembering Shirley Dysond, community volunteer, lively conversationalist, proud of her Ukrainian Jewish heritage, died in her sleep at age 99. The memorial service is this coming Tuesday. And Linda Holzhauser has a friend who's lost a grandchild last week. And Jessie shares, I'm thankful for the many universal signs given to me this past week that prove I'm doing the right thing. I feel connected and I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Also for the opening music honoring Michael Gambon. Gambon? Oh. During this banned book service, may we remember that none of our feelings are banned. Whatever we are feeling is valid and normal, be it a joy, a sorrow, both, or something in between. Just like the books that we are discussing, acknowledging the complexity of our emotions and our lives leads to a healthier, richer life. Blessed be.
I've been reading all the books I could get my hands on, from Geronimo Stilton to Harry Potter to Percy Jackson or a couple hundred others. Recently, I've learned that a plethora of my favorite books have been banned, and to me, that's absurd. I mean, why would you ban a book? Sure, you could keep darker topics for older people who can understand and process it, but books like Charlotte's Web, come on. Over 4,000 books are banned in the United States alone, and I think that's kind of shocking and scary. I'd like to share a short and convenient list of more popular banned books and challenged books. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, and Tango Makes Three by Justin Richardson and Peter Parnell, the Hunger Games series by Suzanne Collins, This Book is Gay by Juno Dawson, The Giver by Lois Lowry, Anne Frank, Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank, Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling, and hundreds more. Now, I've read quite a few banned books without even realizing it. For example, I read Harry Potter in 3rd grade. I liked how they used magic and fantasy elements into the book. I liked the characters and how unique and individual they were. I enjoyed the chaotic Weasley twins' tricks and the intelligent and caring traits that Hermione had, and all the other captivating and interesting characters. A blog by the Toledo Lucas County Public Library says that the book was banned because it talked about things like witchcraft, death, hate, lack of respect, and rebellion. I could agree that almost all books reference this, or these topics in their own way. Sometimes, things like a character's death could even aid the plot of the book by adding development to certain characters, or just involving the plot better. I could also argue that the individuality of the characters would be stripped away. An example of this is the Weasley twins. They had a reputation for pulling all sorts of different kinds of pranks, and in the later books, they even opened up their own prank shop and made a decent living and improved many lives of those characters. Sorry. They even, in the later books, opened a prank shop and made a decent living by bringing joys into countless lives right before the Battle of Hogwarts in the last book. Another book I've read that's banned is the Hunger Games series. I read it in 5th grade, and I loved the strong female characters. I loved how the author portrayed their world and talked about all sort of issues that they were dealing with. I loved how the characters stood up for themselves and other things like that. And granted, this book is a bit darker in the themes it has than Harry Potter, but I still believe it didn't deserve to be banned. The ALA, or American Library Association, states that the series The Hunger Games has been banned for a few reasons, including insensitivity, the use of harsh language, and many violent scenes and other events of that nature. And for those who haven't read this series, the first book starts out with a girl named Katniss Everdeen. Katniss lives in a nation called Panem, located in North America where the states are today. Panem is divided into 12 large districts, and these districts have unique jobs that are ruled by the capital. Every year, one boy and one girl, anywhere from ages 12 to 18, are selected during a ceremony called the Reaping. They're selected to fight in an annual Hunger Games, and in these games, a total of 24 children are put in an arena unique to that year and fight till one remains, for the entertainment of the capital and everyone else. That was the case until Katniss Everdeen from District 12 took her sister Prim's place in the games. She was paired with a boy named Peter Malark, and together they staged a relationship to win the favor of those watching the games. And by winning their favor, they were able to receive many packages with things like clean drinking water, medicine, and other things that could help them win. They ended up making it to the end of the games and to discover that they were the only two left. And the thing is, with these games, only one person can remain. They refused to kill each other and were going to take a suicide pact and eat these poisonous berries together, leaving no one to win. The capital didn't like that, and they allowed both of them to win, and they won through that grand facade. The series goes on to follow a slightly darker path, and the books discuss many topics that I believe are good things to talk about. Topics like revolution and standing up for yourself. There are many good morals and lessons that can be derived from its pages, despite its somewhat darker content. Like I said, standing up for yourself and for your loved ones. Learning about the corrupt governments and how we can fight them, or how we treat lower class districts, even though everyone should be treated equally. The last book I'd like to talk to you about is the book called The Giver by Lois Lowry. And what I find a little bit funny is not even a year ago, I read this book for my 7th grade English class. We used it to discuss our dystopian versus utopian unit, and we talked about what factors make a book utopian or dystopian, how to differentiate the two, and more. The Giver is told by 11-year-old Jonas. He lives in the community where there's no hatred, war, famine, natural disasters, and fear. Sounds ideal, right? Think again. A great example of why this isn't a great place to live is a rule called precision of language. And now, I know everyone who probably graduated knows what a hyperbole is. It's when you over-exaggerate something. An example of Jonas using a simple hyperbole is him complaining in class that he is starving and he hasn't eaten in days. I'm sure all of us have said something like that, especially after we haven't eaten for a while. However, his teacher reprimands him and tells him that he has to use precision language because that's a rule in their community. He has to give a standard apology, and his classmates have to give a standard acceptance. At the yearly ceremony of 12 for their community, all the new 12-year-olds are assigned a job by the committee of elders. And while this sounds really easy and simple, so you don't have to worry about what job you're going to do, it's really not. They have so many rules that are so strict and detailed that there's barely any room for error. There are all sorts of jobs that the 12-year-olds could be assigned. You could be a nurturer who works with children. You could be a birth mother who gives birth to the children and controls the population. You could be on the committee of elders, or you could be like Jonas, and you could be skipped over in the ceremony of 12. Only to find out that you are going to be the next receiver of memories, or the next giver. The giver is a special job in this community. There's only one of them, and they have to be born with these abilities that no one else in the community has. For example, seeing in color, or being able to hear things that others cannot. Even though there's no war, fear, hate, or famine, none of the members in the community know what any of those things are. They live in a life where none of that ever existed, and they never had to worry about anything like that. The giver and Jonas are the only people who do. They're the only people who can see color. They're the only people who can receive memories that the rest of the community is completely unaware of. The story ends with Jonas running away with a new child named Gabe. He is supposed to be the next giver. And though I'm leaving out a lot of details, I don't want to spoil too much or take up too much time. This book does an excellent job at explaining similar themes that The Hunger Game does, just in its own unique way, and in some ways a more child-friendly way, if you could say that. However, the book ended up being banned for one of the reasons why I actually enjoyed it. The book was banned because it involved references to euthanasia and suicide. And while that seems pretty weird for me to enjoy it, it's actually a unique way, I think, of tackling the topic. The novel does a great job and uses a very creative way to explain the topic, and it's not something that ended up traumatizing me. It's something that made me want to read more from this author. How they tackled this topic was how they dealt with older people in their community. There's this thing called being released. So anybody who's either sick or they're older would be allowed or given the option to be released. And while that's as far as anyone else knows from it, those who work with the new children, called nurturers, they're unaware of what they do, and they end up using a medicine or a shot to euthanize them and kill them painlessly. Jonas learns this, and though he learns that he needs to get him and Gabe out of the community and run away, that's why he does that. But I guess the main point I'm trying to get across is that a lot of these books have been banned or challenged for understandable yet silly or strange reasons. If we were to eliminate all these books that were banned, we would have some pretty boring books, and I don't think anyone would want to read. My take on banning books would be that they shouldn't be banned. Unless a book is trying to convince or persuade someone to harm themselves, others, people, or places, or to anything like that, I don't see why they could be banned, and I don't see why they should be. Thank you.
Thank you, Brianna. Now I want to read The Giver. I'm not sure I ever have, so I know I have owned it in the past. And I just want to say, JD and I are masking just to be safe. JD felt a bit off yesterday, but is feeling better this morning. 2 negative COVID tests, so I just want to let everybody know that. Trying to keep the community safe. The Unitarian Church of Harrisburg is, as always, a freely gathered church of free people. The church is created, sustained, and supported by us. Each month, we share half of our Sunday plate with a local nonprofit organization. For the month of October, we share the plate with Gather the Spirit for Justice. If you've been involved with Gather the Spirit for Justice, please raise your hand. It's a nonprofit 501c3, look around please, that brings together Allison Hill residents, area organizations, businesses, and churches to address issues of social justice and economic equity. It was started by UCH members working together with members of the shared ministry congregation at our Market Street campus. JD and I and our daughter Robin have all volunteered with Gather the Spirit, as have many others who are here, as you saw. If you wish to contribute online, visit uchbg.org homepage for options. Your financial support and commitment matter. Please consider giving what you are able. We dedicate these gifts to the work of this congregation, weaving a tapestry of compassion and action, faith and fellowship, hope and wholeness.
Now will you join me together, stand in spirit or body, as we sing 1074 in your children.
And now we close our service with these words from the National Council of Churches. For the joy of words spoken, written, danced, observed, for the pleasure of seeing the world through another's eyes, let us give thanks. For books that proclaim the splendid sweep of history, and for those authors that strive to fill in the gaps of a shame-filled past, let us give thanks. For those who enjoy familiar stories, and for those who transport us to unknown universes, let us give thanks. For those who can't find themselves in books, because there are none that contain people like themselves, let us open our eyes to acceptance and inclusion. For those who fear that as books about them, for them, are removed, they too will be forced to disappear. Let us shout out for safety. For the endlessly curious, the smugly certain, and for those whose questions were never allowed, let us delight in discovery. For those, that's all right. For those who want to ban books they themselves often haven't read, for those who try to abolish the different, the unknown, the challenging, let us have patience and open hearts. For writers, poets, teachers, librarians, for all custodians of the wisdom of ages and the voices of the new, let us instill courage.